All right, so let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION this morning. The United States is setting new records in terms of the COVID-19 infections and also in terms of the fatalities linked to COVID-19. The nation has now registered its highest ever death toll due to COVID-19 in a single day. 3,100 coronavirus-related deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours, which is 20% higher than the previous record. Now, more than 100,000 people in the United States have been hospitalized for COVID-19, while the total cases have now surpassed the 14 million mark, and the death toll has also risen well over the 273,000 mark. As healthcare systems continue to struggle to support the weight of the worsening impact, California has unveiled the latest round of constraints, imposing stay-at-home orders on a regional basis. New restrictions on social and economic activities will also be triggered in a given region when its hospital intensive care units get close to capacity. Each region is to remain under its stay-at-home orders for at least about 3 weeks, and residents have been directed to remain at home and also avoid travel except when necessary for permitted activities such as grocery shopping, medical appointments, or individual outdoor exercises.
Today, we are announcing and introducing a regional stay-at-home order in the state of California, fundamentally predicated on the need to stop gathering with people outside of your household, to do what you can to keep most of your activities outside, and of course, always, most important non-pharmaceutical intervention, that is wear face coverings, wear a mask.
And also, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has pledged to retain the nation's top advisor on the pandemic, Dr. Anthony Fauci, when he takes office next month. Now, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is a member of President Donald Trump's coronavirus task force, met with Biden's advisors on the pandemic. In his recent interview, Joe Biden said that he has asked Dr. Fauci to stay on as the chief medical advisor. The U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has also told that his inauguration, he'll ask the public to wear masks for the first 100 days of his administration to help drive down the spread of the virus. Now, Joe Biden also said that he would issue an order for masks to be worn inside federal buildings and also inside transportation facilities. The Pfizer vaccine has already been approved by regulatory authorities in Britain, while the United States Food and Drug Administration plans to decide whether to do so on an emergency basis. The advisory panel is to meet on the 10th of December. The vaccines could be distributed in the United States almost immediately from the moment that the FDA gives its approval. Joe Biden has also said that he would publicly take a coronavirus vaccine to demonstrate its safety to the public. The former U.S. Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and also Bill Clinton have volunteered to take a coronavirus vaccine on camera if it were to help promote public confidence. The North America and Latin America regions combined have more than 50% of all coronavirus deaths that have been reported across the world. And to get us more updates in terms of what is happening in the United States, we're joined in by Rachel Silverman. She's joining us from San Francisco in California. Now, Rachel, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this broadcast in WION. And let me begin by asking you this. The world over, different countries have managed to bring the number of infections under control. But in the United States, pretty much on a day-to-day basis, new records are being set, not just in the terms of infections that the United States has witnessed, but also in terms of the fatalities that have gone up very sharply over the course of the last few days and weeks.
The numbers are astounding. The United States logged 14 million COVID-19 cases just hours after setting 3 grim records: the highest number of daily deaths, the most new infections, and the highest number of hospitalizations since the pandemic began. That was yesterday. And to top that, health experts are bracing for what they're calling a surge on top of the surge in travel-related cases following Thanksgiving. Now, we had the celebration of that holiday last weekend. A lot of people getting together with their families and their friends, flying from one state to another. And we're expecting cases stemming from that holiday to appear sometime in this week, in the next few days. Those cases are apparent about a week to 10 days after exposure. So we're going to just now begin seeing cases related to the Thanksgiving weekend. Much like the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said about Thanksgiving, the CDC is also recommending now for people to cancel their plans to travel for the December holidays, saying that these surging infection numbers indicate that many people are already weary of the restrictions, but in the midst of the holiday season, less inclined to stay home, just at a time when they really need to buckle down and do so.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, this of course, is being pointed out as the surge that is being witnessed because of the activities of people for the Thanksgiving holiday. But coming up is Christmas and also the New Year holiday. A recommendation does not mean that people will adhere to it. So at this point of time, Rachel, give us a sense of how different states in the United States are looking down at clamping down on the spread of the virus. Will there be more strict restrictions that will be mandatory?
Well, California is a very good example. California, where I am, San Francisco was the first city in the United States to impose a lockdown. And just today, California Governor Gavin Newsom said it's time to take some decisive action again now to prevent the hospital system from being overwhelmed in the coming weeks. He's going to issue new stay-at-home orders to go into effect if available beds in intensive care units drop down below 15% capacity. That order is going to require people to stay home except for the most essential tasks like going to the grocery store or going to the doctor. But bars and wineries and hairdressers and all kinds of services will be closed for 3 weeks. Now, none of the 5 regions in this state have reached the threshold that would trigger the order, but all but one of them is projected to get there this week. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, another city in this state, there's already been a similar order issued, the mayor saying it's time for people to hunker down and cancel everything. If something is not essential, he says, don't do it.
Absolutely, but the problem with the strategy that is being employed in the United States is the difference in how different states are reacting to this. So while in the state of California, because of the rising infections, we are looking at the possibility of a lockdown and more restrictions, in the state of New York, where infections to a certain extent have been brought under control, the governor there is mulling on reopening schools, especially elementary schools. Is it a problem that the United States is facing because different states have different strategies that are being employed, and therefore, as a nation as a whole, the United States is struggling to bring the infections under control?
The United States is struggling to bring the infections under control, and many people think it's because of a lack of leadership at the federal level. We have a president now who has ignored the virus, who has not set examples by wearing masks, who has had rallies and had parties with hundreds of people who do not social distance. And there are many people who say that once we have strong federal leadership, once we have a new president, President Biden, that there will be federal mandates for people to wear masks. Biden hasn't said yet whether it's just going to be a recommendation or a mandate, but you can be sure that there's going to be a different message coming from the White House and penetrating to all 50 states.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Rachel Zimmerman, for joining us and getting us all those updates in terms of what is happening in the United States.